Hi, this is Courtney Cooper, and you're listening to my interview at gogoodman.com.au with Elaine Goodman.
Everything I've read says that you're based in Brooklyn but studied music at Berklee College in Boston. Where did you grow up? Are you a child of the East Coast?
Yeah, kind of. That's actually a great question. I moved around a lot as a child. I actually was born in Boston and lived there till I was 8, then lived in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Maine for high school, and then back to Boston for Berklee.
Wow. Okay. Right. Okay.
Yep.
So you've moved around a little bit. So where did you get time to kind of start looking into music? Were your parents into music? I read that your mum had a big record collection as well. So were they big
Actually,
musical people?
totally the opposite. My family was not a musical family at all, which is really funny. They never played music in the house. I really got into it on my own, but what you mentioned about my mom's record collection, my mom, I guess, from when she was younger, had, a big tape collection of music she used to listen to because she used to sing in a choir when she was in college. And so I think it was I must have been I don't know, 4 or 5. She gave me this super vintage 70s, almost briefcase looking thing. And you open it up and it was full of cassettes, just lined. And it was mostly Whitney Houston and really big singers like that. And so even though my parents were not into music and didn't play music in the house when I was growing up, I, got my tape and listened to all the songs, and I learned all the Whitney songs and would sing them at the top of my lungs at home. So that's really how I got into music, kind of on my own, I guess.
So even though your mum had a musical past but didn't really show that side of her to you when you were growing up, you still somehow made your way into music. Is that strange to you, or do you think it's fate?
It's kind of funny. It's a little bit of both. It's a little strange, and I think also a little bit of fate. And ironically, also, since my early part of my childhood was spent in the outskirts of Boston in Concord, Massachusetts, my brother and I had a babysitter named Heather, who was our main person that would come take care of us. And her boyfriend at the time, who's now her husband, went to Berklee and is a major musician. So I remember he used to always come over with his guitar and play for my brother and I and try and teach my brother how to play guitar. And then ironically, around the same time, I was in a temple choir that the choir director also went to Berklee. So I had these 2 really major musicians that were students of Berklee. So I guess kind of some way it rubbed off on me and stuck with me. And then, I moved all around the country and then ended up back in Boston at Berklee.
Does
so
your brother
full circle, I guess.
Does your brother still play guitar?
No, he didn't really take that seriously. He got more into sports and other stuff. So his music career was kind of short-lived.
He just got into sport. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
That's so stereotypical.
Yep.
What was
It's true.
What was the first live concert you went to?
Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing.
Yes.
So my first live concert was actually NSYNC.
Wow. Where was it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, where was that actually? I think it must have been in Portland, Maine. Because I think I was 15 or 16, and I went with one of my high school friends. And at that point, I had been living in Maine, which there's not a lot around. Doesn't have a lot to offer. The nearest mall is 45 minutes away. So, just kind of having any access to going to a real concert or a real show was kind of out of the question, and like I didn't grow up with money or anything either. So yeah, I saved up all my money with one of my high school friends, and we got tickets to see NSYNC, and I just remember being like one of those typical teeny boppers. I was so excited.
It's all right.
It was amazing though. They put on a great show.
My first concert was 5.
Oh my goodness.
Do you remember
Really
them?
Similar.
Yeah, exactly, similar.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that you're a
so
kid of the
funny.
90s. Like, why is that embarrassing? They're like one of probably the second biggest boy band of the 90s.
I guess it's not really embarrassing. I mean, I did love them, and Justin Timberlake is still doing his thing, and I mean, they're all amazing musicians still. I mean, I saw the Backstreet Boys just like reconnected and just performed the other night at the VMAs, they were great, and they're probably like in their 40s.
Hang on, hold on. I'm nowhere near my 40s, but when you say they're great even though they're in their 40s, what does that mean?
No, I'm just playing. I mean, they're, you know.
Right, so
It's a thing of the past, you know, that used to be, you know, to be a pop musician, like my generation, it was like, if you were over 18, it was like frowned upon. But I'm so glad that that's over because that was ridiculous. So, yeah.
have you seen Justin Timberlake by himself?
You know, I haven't seen his solo show. No,
Yeah.
I have not.
I reckon it'd be unbelievable. Just if you saw him at the Super
I'm
Bowl,
sure.
it was insane. It was one of the best Super Bowl halftime shows I've ever seen, and that's why I watch the Well, I don't watch the Super Bowl. I look up the halftime show on YouTube afterwards. But that was one of the best ones I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen a full show of his live, but I've seen like a lot of stuff online and on TV, and he's an amazing talent. Amazing.
What did you learn at Berklee College that you still apply today?
Oh my goodness, so many things. So I'll start with one of the funniest things, I guess. So when I was at Berklee, I dual majored, and I studied vocal performance, singing obviously, and also music production engineering. So more like in the studio, behind the scenes type work. And I remember very early on when I was starting in the MP&E department, one of my production teachers, you know, we would have big projects, like we would have scheduled class time, and then we would also have like an allotted amount of time in the studio to work on the projects that were assigned per class. So like say, you know, your basic production class, you had like a 6-hour lab in the studio that you had during the week. You had 6 hours studio time you had to get done. So it was a thing where you were never allowed to work on your own project as being in the department. And you had to find musicians throughout the school to give them opportunities, right? So the funniest thing that I learned and still stuck with me is that musicians, not to stereotype, but I guess totally too, as a whole, are like never show up on time to rehearsals or sessions. So one of my production teachers would always be like, you know, like tell them the session's actually starting at a different time than it actually is. So when they show up an hour late, they're actually on time, and you know. Yeah, so I always was like, that's so funny. But then as soon as I started having my recording sessions and start to see, you know, like there would be specific musicians and stuff that were like amazingly talented that just would be like, you know, couldn't be bothered. And you really like literally had to promise them the world, maybe like a case of beers, dinner, and also tell them the session was like an hour before it actually started. So that's something that's kind of stuck with me, not just with musicians, but with people in general. I find like I'm sure everybody has like that one friend that's always like perpetually late. And it's like one of the greatest things, because if you just tell them a different time than it actually is, and you know they're going to show up an hour late, then when they're really on time, then nobody needs to worry about it, and you know, everything's great.
So now that you're a musician, Does this apply to you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I really do my best to
Be
be
late.
on time and
All
be
right.
professional. But I have my moments. I'm human. So
So right now, are you living in New York City?
I am. Yep, I'm living in Brooklyn.
Right. So when you moved to Brooklyn after your course, how long did it take you for you to start living solely off your music career?
That's a really funny question because I'm still not doing that yet. I'm still currently working a few odd and jobs here and there to support myself while I'm doing music. Fingers crossed. Hopefully within the next year that'll be turning around. So we'll see.
What's the strangest extra job you've done?
Oh wow. So many. I've worked as a body double for a few like famous actors.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely really weird and funny at the same time.
Can you name names?
So, yeah, sure. I've body doubled and stood in for Kristen Bell, Brittany Snow, Reese Witherspoon. So a lot of the times when you're watching these actors on the screen, if you're not seeing their face, it's actually me.
Wow.
It's really funny.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So
And like the height, because I know Reese Witherspoon is like tiny. Is it like obviously the camera is in a different spot to make you look like the same height as her?
I actually am the same height as her. I'm the same height as all of them.
Oh, really?
About 5'1", 5'2". Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So tell me about New York or Brooklyn. Is there a good live music scene around the different boroughs? Do you get out to go see live music as much as you can?
I do. I love seeing shows. New York really is amazing for that. There's literally something going on every single night if you wanted it, and multiple things going on every night. Where I live in Brooklyn is awesome too. In Williamsburg, there's literally a venue like one block from my apartment that's awesome. And also a new-ish venue called Brooklyn Steel that I've been going to a lot. They have really, really great shows. But the city as well is going to Madison Square Garden, of course, Terminal 5, tons and tons of iconic venues. I love going to as many as I can.
Who have you seen at Madison Square Garden recently?
Oh gosh, recently, who was I there to see? I'm totally having a brain fart. But more memorable, I saw Lady Gaga there.
Wow.
A few years back, and she was unbelievable.
She'd be
maybe the best,
insane, yeah.
Maybe the best live show I've ever seen.
Really?
For I think it was 2 hours and 45 minutes, and there was literally never a lull where the energy died, or you were like, okay, this has got to be the end. It was so incredible. Her energy was always on point, and she would skip from maybe a slower song to a higher energy song, and then it just was she totally captured you the entire time. And then I had no idea that it was even as long as it was until it was over, and I looked at my phone and was like, oh my god, it's actually almost 3 hours.
Wow.
A rock star. Truly, truly a rock star. Oh, I know what it was. I saw Iron Maiden was the last thing I saw at Madison Square Garden.
They're heavy metal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went with a bunch of friends. Yeah, it was really cool.
A little bit different to Lady Gaga.
A little bit, yeah. But they put on quite a show, too. They're very, very theatrical.
Have you performed live much? Do you feel, we're getting into your style of music a bit now, do you feel your soft style of music can command a live crowd?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's no discriminating on styles of music with shows. If you have music that your audience is going to connect with, then it's going to be a great show. I've seen Iron Maiden, which is totally different than someone I just saw Jessie Ware at Brooklyn Steel, who's, she sings mostly ballads. And it was such a moving show. And like Alina Baraz puts on an amazing show, even though it's mostly just her voice and like slow ballad type stuff. So yeah, I mean,
Have you performed live
I
much?
put on a great show.
Have you performed live much?
I haven't done, since I've moved back to New York, it's been about 2 years, I haven't done any shows here. I've been playing in LA, but I'm about to be putting on a few shows locally. So stay tuned for that.
Your first album was made up of your lyrics and melodies, but various producers backing tracks. Did it make the process easier to already have the base of the track ready?
Yeah. Yes and no. It did. I spent a lot of the time writing mostly myself. So in the sense that I had creative freedom in kind of my own time span, like I wasn't, having to be in a studio and locked down like, oh, we have to get out of here by 6. That was like a really, really great aspect of just like kind of, work environment and creative energy.
Do you still get involved with the editing and technical side of your music these days?
I do, yeah. So I spend a lot of time at my home studio. I have like a little home studio set up, and I run like a whole rig of like Pro Tools with some gear and stuff like that. And I love producing like vocals and playing around with like harmonies and stuff like that. So in that aspect of stuff, I'm still definitely very involved. And I do also make tracks on the side. I don't really use them for my own projects. I personally don't think they're that great, but and I do love collaborating with other people. I think it brings like a really unique energy when you're, working with other people as well. So
it's been 3 years since you released your first album. What goes through your head in the lead up to releasing this one that's coming up? Is it nerves, excitement, the feeling of not knowing what will happen? Could it go viral? Could it sell steadily for a long period of time? Do you have any control over these factors?
I don't have any control over the factors, although I'm very excited. I wouldn't say nervous really at all, because this is something that, I put my heart and soul into, and it's really, the songs are such a reflection of myself. But it doesn't make me nervous to share them, but it does make me very excited. I could only hope that people will hear them and it will be received well. But, unfortunately, I don't really have control over, getting, the music to people. I wish I did, as far as, having a huge audience to get people to listen to. That's like really, for me, the hardest part is getting how to get people to hear the music, and they can have their own decision on if they like it or not, but it's really the struggle as an independent musician to get your audience.
This, I'm going to admit, this next question is one of the best ones of the interview. Possibly the best one.
Okay.
Vibes, Cosmos, Damn, and Paradise are all titles of songs off your new EP, Waves, which comes out August 24th. What is it about the one-word titles?
The one-word title, Waves? Well,
no, as in the one-word titles of all the songs.
Oh.
Do you have a thing for one-word titles?
I never really thought about it like that. And there's definitely some multiple-word songs in there you got to check out in addition to that. I guess universally the reason for that would be because when I was creating this project, it really was inspired by the ocean and literally the waves. Like I wrote the album sitting at my apartment, looking out the window, looking at the waves from the East River and kind of daydreaming about the ocean in California, as ironic as that is. And I think you kind of hear that in all of the songs. So maybe a reason that the titles are just one word is because
they're more about a feeling
really
than a message, maybe.
Yeah. And it's all kind of like one message as a whole as well. So, but I mean, that totally wasn't on purpose. Didn't even realize till just now. But yeah, there's other songs like Summer Love that's on there. So, you know, but yeah, they're very
Two words,
basic,
two words. Good, good.
Yeah, 2 words. Winning.
Now, this next question is going to show how much research I actually do. Do you have a pet turtle?
I do.
Go on.
Yeah, the turtle is actually originally my boyfriend's, although ironically, as a child, I did have my own pet turtle. His name's Donatello.
Aww.
He's amazing. He's amazing. And he has a few really cool stories. He's like the most amazing pet. First of all, my boyfriend had a huge fire. He lived on a rooftop apartment in the East Village of New York, and he had a koi pond on his outdoor space, which was crazy. It was so cool. But long story short, one of those like cell phone power receptor things that are on the top of buildings exploded and burned his entire apartment to ash, literally ash. It was terrifying, and thank God him and his roommate weren't home. However, his koi pond had, you know, a bunch of koi fish, and it had 3 turtles in it. And so when my boyfriend and I got there, you know, the firemen were all suited up, and they're like, we found a turtle, and we put him in a bucket over there. So, you know, of course, I am like, I pick up the turtle, grab like a Tupperware, like a random salad container that was like on the street from like recycling, probably. Gross. But, you know, rough times call for rough measures. So then, you know, after I helped my boyfriend try and gather like whatever was left of his personal belongings, at that point it was like almost midnight. So we went into a restaurant to try and get food. And I hadn't even realized, you know, I had the turtle on the dinner table in this Tupperware, and the waitress comes over and is like, is that a turtle? You know, because he's kind of like moving. So long story short, he is such a gangster that he survived this fire. I have no idea still to this day how it even happened, because if I showed you a photo of the fire, like literally ash, like all of the furniture, like not even existent. And this poor little turtle must have found someplace to hide in his shell, and his fingers were all burnt and singed off, and he was like coughing up black ash for 2 weeks. And he lost all of his buddies in the pond with him, but he's such a survivor. This was like years ago, and he's gone on to thrive. And now he is in love with a fish. He does, like, the turtles do this mating dance with normally other turtles, one would assume. But we got a pleco fish, which is like a bottom feeder to clean the tank, because turtles can be dirty. And slowly over time, apparently they developed a love relationship, and the fish cleans his back, and the turtle does the love dance. So they snuggle at night together. So he's a pretty cool pet.
Oh, so how, in terms of taking care of a turtle, does it need to get any sunlight? Do you need to take it outside ever? They live for like 100 years, yeah? As per Finding Nemo.
Well, that's more tortoises, like outdoor turtle-ish tortoises live to be that long. But I have an aquatic turtle. It's the red-eared spider. But they still do live very long, I think like 35. And I believe he's 9 now. But I felt so bad after the whole fire thing. And I haven't really had a pet as an adult. Like, I grew up with dogs, but I haven't had one since. And so I kind of, like, took him in under my wing and spoiled the crap out of him. So I got, like, a huge, obnoxiously large, like, 60-gallon tank. And he has, like, a sun tanning area that I carpeted. So he is so spoiled. Like, he literally, sometimes he gets, like, leftover salmon from dinner. He's at porterhouse. Like, he's
eating steaks now?
Yes, sometimes.
So does he
I
spend
guess I'm gonna get like a call from animal control.
does he does he spend all his time underwater?
No, he doesn't. He goes to his little sun patio and loves basking in the sun. So, which I guess is how turtles
Right.
digest their food and grow. So, yeah, he's very lucky because he's indoors, and when I have to go outside in the snow and the freezing weather, which is actually kind of what inspired me writing the entire album. He gets to chill in the tank in the comfortable sun environment and not even have any idea.
Wow. It's a bit of a different story than I'm used to. That's awesome.
You're like, oh my God, I should not have asked that question.
No, that's great. That's what I want. The New York turtle. Brilliant. Well, the only final question I've got is where can people find you? Are you like from what you've said, you're really into music, you're really into just making sounds, putting them all together and creating your own unique kind of, I guess, sound and editing, singing, vocals. What's your relationship like with social media, the marketing side?
Ooh, to be honest, I'm not a huge social media person. I don't know, there's just something about it. I have like a mental block. So I'm not very good on it, although I'm trying to get more into it because I know it's very important for my career. So, I mean, I am on Instagram, Courtney_Cooper, and all of that fun stuff. So you can find me there. But I'm not like, I have friends that literally live and die on social media, and that is like so not me. I'd rather be, in the moment and living my real life instead of like taking boomerangs about it.
No, that's fair enough. I hear that a lot. It's unfortunately an essential part of anything in the entertainment industry these days. It's almost unavoidable unless you've made your name before social media came in, and then you can kind of survive without it, like a Jack Nicholson or something. But yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it's something I get in a lot of trouble from, and a lot of people are like, you need to work on that, and I'd rather like write a song, but it's a happy balance. I'll get there.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Courtney. Thank you for taking the time and telling me some good stories. It's really fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hey, this is Courtney Cooper again. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear and see more, check out the website. Click below.